Hi, I'm Mike Tenney, host of Pop Culture Catechism for Awaken Catholic, and this is Awaken the Word, a reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. The Passover of the Jews was near, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple, he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. Making a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling the doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." The Jews then said to him, "What sign can you show us for doing this?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews then said, "This temple has been under construction for 46 years, and you will raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking of the temple of his body. After he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this, and they believed the scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken. So today's gospel reading is the famous cleansing of the temple, and it is perhaps the most misunderstood of the stories of Jesus's life. It's not a parable, real story that really happened. It's recounted in all 4 of the Gospels. It's seen by most biblical scholars as one of those things that is most historically accurate in the Gospels. And most people either think it's about Jesus just like losing his temper, and oftentimes it's used as a justification for violence. Some people think it's proof that, oh, Jesus did sin. He wasn't sinless. Or see, this was a sin. He was using violence. Some people see it as, oh, this is Jesus saying that we shouldn't sell things in church. We shouldn't have, sell donuts after church or anything like that. And all of those are missing the mark if you don't understand the whole narrative of where this is coming from. In the Old Testament, the temple was where God lived. The God of Israel dwelt in the temple, in the inner sanctuary. He didn't live up on a mountain somewhere. He didn't live in your hearts. He lived in the temple. But Ezekiel, the prophet, has this vision of God's presence leaving the temple right before the Babylonians come through and destroy the temple and carry off the Ark of the Covenant, or Jeremiah runs off the Ark of the Covenant to keep it from the Babylonians. And there's this question through much of the last part of the Old Testament: when is God coming back? When is his presence returning to Israel? Even though we've returned from exile as a people in Babylon, we're still in this spiritual exile. And Herod had built a temple and said, "Look, I'm the great king. I'm the Messiah. I have built the temple." But there was still the sense that God's spirit still hadn't returned to the temple. And what Jesus is saying is, this is not the real temple. Herod's temple is not where God dwells. This temple of my body is where God dwells. And he's in the tradition of all these Old Testament prophets that would do these dramatic sign acts, these dramatic things to prove their message. And so in this message, he's saying, this is not the temple where God lives. I am the temple where God lives. I've been Mike Tenney, and this has been Awaken the Word.